자, AMD 판판. 이건 뭐야? 파나드 AMD 3호 장갑차는 20세기 초에 프랑스가 생산한 최고의 군사 장비 중 하나입니다. 예. 많은 국가들이 기병대를 재검토하고 있던 전강기에 1차 대전하고 2차 대전 사이 말하는 겁니다. 제작된 이 장비는 고전적인 기병대 대신에 강철로 만들어진 기병대입니다. 자, 봅시다. 렛츠고. 강철의 기병대.
The Panhard AMD.35 armored car is one of the best French combat vehicles of the early 20th century. It was made during the interwar period, when militaries of many nations were rethinking their concepts of cavalry units. The era of classic horse cavalry was obviously over. It was time for motorized units. And so some armies tried to adapt the old cavalry strategies and units to new realities, beginning their motorization. France was one such nation. It was the cavalry units for whom Panhard made its AMD-35, a car with decent armor, separate driving seats for forward and reverse movement, and a 25mm autocannon in a fully rotating turret. The AMD-35 won the competition for a reconnaissance vehicle in the 1930s, and only a few years later found a great place in the French army. Light motorized units were expected to be something similar to the German panzer divisions used at the beginning of World War II. However, budget limits and conservative views of some commanding officers never allowed this idea to reach its full potential. The new units performed fairly well during the brief time when France fought back against the German invasion. But of course, it wasn't enough. The Third Republic lost early in the war, and numerous Panhards were captured as trophies. That point marked a stark turn in the fate of the AMD-35. Germans used this vehicle extensively.
그렇죠. 이게 또 독일에 가는 거야. 독일에서 쓰다가 또 다시 프랑스로 돌아온다.
Uncommon uses aside, the German army appreciated the combat capabilities of their new trophy and assigned most of the captured machines to reconnaissance units. The AMD-35 was one of the most used trophy armored cars in that war. The only thing the Panhard was lacking was firepower. That's why, around the midpoint of the war, the Germans rearmed some of the cars with a 50mm cannon, the one also used on the Panzer III tank. That cannon was far from the cutting edge of technology at the time, but it still became a tangible upgrade. A number of AMD-35 vehicles were used by Vichy France, mostly as police cars. And towards the end of World War II, right before the liberation of France, several Panhards were captured by the resistance. They were more symbols than actual weapons at first, but soon the French upgraded them with 47mm cannons. The concept of the AMD-35 was so robust and resilient that the machine remained relevant for decades, even with minimal changes. France used this fast and well-armored car with a decent gun up until the mid-1950s in its colonies. Its development experience was also used for the EBR, perhaps the best French armored car from the middle of the century.
EBR 야 오랜만이다 야. 월탱할 때 좀 탔었는데. 썬더도 있죠. 끝.